What is going on, everybody? This is Mr. Truesdell doing a video, 10 steps of how to use this bad boy right here, the Red Dragon 6K professional cinema camera. Now, why am I doing this? For a couple different reasons. I already said a few days ago that in order to use this camera, which is very expensive, very professional, you have to pass the test. Also, your next assignment, as you may or may not know, is you're in 10 steps. You're going to talk about how you do something. So this is going to be killing two birds with one stone. One, it's going to teach you about this amazing camera, and number two, I'm going to go over in 10 easy steps how to use the Red Dragon cinema camera. Now, a little caveat, mine is going to be a little bit longer for teaching purposes. Obviously, you guys are only going to have to do a minute and a half to 2 minutes. I could change that a little bit, but as of now, mine's going to be quite a bit longer, so don't be intimidated by the length of this. Also, doing this live, and I'm not going to do a lot of editing, so I apologize if I kind of misspeak. I want to get it out to you as fast as I possibly can, and that will be the reason behind some of my obvious errors and omissions. Okay, let's go. All right, folks, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are back, and what you see here, I'm going to give you a 360-degree view of this bad boy. You'll notice that this thing, like right away when you pick it up, it's quite heavy. It is made right here in the United States, which is really cool, in Irvine, California. Manufactured and assembled. And I think it's made of titanium carbon fiber. It's about 3.4 pounds just for the brain. The brain is something that Red has patented and copyrighted. We'll talk a little bit about the history here in a moment. But we're going to kind of go over the design of it. We'll go ahead and take this out, and we'll talk about this in a second too. This is the mini mag. I'll put this off to the side. Okay, so I'm going to start with the front here. And again, this is called the brain. And before we go any further, I'm going to tell you, a lot of people kind of are very upset with Red or just kind of troubled because it's very similar to Apple. And they're kind of marketing to very high-end clients. You'll notice that this Red monitor, there's going to be a side handle right here. This base plate down here, and even this is called a V-Lock I/O expander right here. And this part can come off. In fact, it doesn't even come shipped with the brain. This comes off, and of course the monitor comes off. But what Red's trying to do essentially is make a camera that is, you can customize, but you can only customize it with their products, which is highly shady and dubious. But they claim that you can grab third-party stuff, which is a little newer now, but back in the day you only could buy Red stuff, which is pretty much true today as well. And of course the accessories only come for Red and for Red users, and all you get on the website, there could be a massive weight, and they're also extremely expensive. So again, this is something that's kind of outside the realm of what most people can afford, and even if they can, it's frustrating because you get the brain, it's completely useless without all the accessories. The cool thing, however, is that there are no cords or wires. It's completely modular. It's boxy, so it's very easy to fit and accessorize with their Red accessories. And that's how they've made it. Okay, so that's kind of like the 360-degree view of it. Let me go ahead and give you an idea of what the bottom looks like. It's hard to do this because I'm holding a mic too. So down here you're going to see some 3/8 threads, some 1/4-20 threads, and both of which will fit your tripod that you guys hear, the Manfrotto 190X. Okay. If I tip this up and I turn it over to the left side, you'll see that here's the Red Mini Mag reader. And again, this is something that does not come with it. And these are very, very expensive, and you can't just put an SD card in one of these bad boys. It is 480 gigs, and that helps, and it just goes right in there with the arrows, as you might be able to see, right in there like that, and it immediately can read it. Again, which is cool. Like Apple products, everything just works seamlessly with it. On the back, you're going to notice this is called a V-Lock I/O expander plate, and again, it does not come with it. You have to buy it separately. And then this is really cool because you have a V-Lock battery. This thing will last about 3 to 4 hours on basic charge. It just locks right in there. You can hear it click, and you are ready to rock and roll. Okay, and about 3 to 4 hours maybe if you're lucky. I'm going to go ahead and take this off. There's a quick release button here on the left. Notice that's the red button there, and then you're good to go. Okay, going through some of these back panels and the V-Lock I/O expander. Go ahead and tilt this up a little bit. You'll notice that we have a microphone, we have a stereo speaker there, and we have your 3.5 millimeter headphone jack as well as a microphone input. Now, one of the things that is mysteriously absent, a lot of people kind of complained about, is even on basic camcorders, like we talked about, we have that 3-pin XLR jack, and it is absent from this entirely. A lot of people have been really upset about that. But the reason why I think Red did that was because this is, again, catering to a very professional market in a professional cinema environment. You are going to have people that have that do external audio, and they run it entirely separate from the camera, and they have to dub it and sync it later in post. So that's not something they've included on this. Going down, you see an HDMI out. You're going to see BNC timecode, so you can sync that in post, as well as an SDI and a multi-pin LEMO for hooking this in a studio setting. You can actually plug this into the wall and not have to have the V-Lock I/O expander right here, which is pretty neat because if you have longer shoots, you don't have to worry about switching out batteries. This, again, is an accessory. This handle here is really, really cool. It's extremely well made. This rubber grip feels amazing. And this is an external recorder right here. So kind of a thumb trigger recorder button. Really, really cool. Here's the power button on the right-hand side. You have to hold this down. And as you can see in just a moment when you turn this on, it's going to take a long time to boot up. These fans get very, very hot. There's also fans down here. And you don't want to put any accessories here because it's going to block the flow of air and it could overheat very badly. Okay. On the front side of the Red, you'll notice that it has all the labels, and this is really, really cool. This is your front cap. This is an EF mount for all the Canon lenses that we talked about, and that's kind of why people love it as well, because Canon lenses are so, all over the place, ubiquitous, I guess is the word, and very easy and common to find. Okay, some are more expensive than others. But what's super cool about this is if you take this ring and you can actually tighten it, and then you can loosen it, so any of those big Canon lenses won't fall out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the microphone down here in a second. I'm going to show you how to take this lens cap off. All right, so that was pretty simple and easy to do. As you can see, it wasn't a big deal. Just press down the button, turn it counterclockwise, and this comes off. If you wanted to make sure the lens is not going to fall out, you simply take one of your hands here and tighten it righty-tighty, and you can see that this can no longer come off even if you press the button. Okay, pretty cool stuff. All right. Hey folks, I went ahead and hit that red button on the right-hand side. It is booting up as we speak, and the front fans are going. I apologize for the noise. You can kind of hear it kind of trying to boot up. Like an old school computer, actually, and it is a computer, really, for all intents and purposes. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see this screen really well. And again, Red's kind of come under a lot of fire because you have to use their monitor. I know it might not be the easiest to see here, but I'm going to go ahead and describe what this is and what we're looking at. So when this boots up, you're going to see a number of different things. What's really interesting in the lower right-hand corner is Red wants to know how long we've used this product. And in the lower right-hand corner, this is a constantly timing, like a internal timing system that says how long you've actually used it. Not how long you've been recording, but how long you've actually used it. And this one we haven't used very much at all, but it's only been 3 hours and 33 minutes, and counting, so on and so forth, even down to the second, okay? In your upper left-hand corner, you're going to notice that you have the frames per second. Just to the right of that, you're going to see the ISO for how much light is hitting the sensor. You're going to have your frame rate. You're going to see your white balance. You're going to see what resolution and what your compression is. Now, what compression means is that the more you compress it, the smaller the file size is going to be. Right over here, we're going to use the menu, and in just a moment, we're going to go ahead and access that menu. And we're going to show how we can change some of the settings and how this thing works. Okay, folks, we are back, and what I want to do with this particular section, I think we'll call this section 4, the 4-step, is showing you how to actually use the menu and the steps. Now, there's a reason why we're going over this cinema camera in this order, and hopefully you kind of understand this menu because of that big test we had first semester. So if you're a second semester student, this might be a little more foreign to you, but I'm going to try and explain it as we go. All right, so in the upper left-hand corner, you'll notice that the frames per second is going to be highlighted in red. And if we go ahead and press that, it's all touchscreen, which is kind of nice. It's not as responsive as other cameras, but it is quite responsive if you're patient, okay? You have a number of different options for the Red. And what's super cool about the Red is you literally can go in very small increments of frames per second. Now, most people see at 24 frames per second, and so we're going to go over here to 24, and then you can go over to 40, you can go up to 60, and you just kind of can scroll. If you click off of it, yeah, I clicked off of it, and then you can go 50 if you want to go slow-mo, 60, And it goes way, way up, which is really, really cool, to a lot of different frame rates. You can see this one maxes out at 85 frames per second and full 6K 2:1, which is absolutely insane. Very super slow-mo and very high resolution. And again, that's what this camera is kind of known for, is very high frame rates and very high resolution. If you remember correctly, the ARRI, which is super expensive, about 5 or 6 times as expensive as this, doesn't go even 4K, but it's known for its very high dynamic range and color skin saturation, which is really kind of cool. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and click off of this, and once whatever was highlighted in red, that's what it is going to be. Right now we're at 60 frames a second, 59.94, same thing. Okay. All right, we're going to go over to the ISO. Now, this is where it gets interesting. This one does not have a dual native ISO, but what's amazing about the Red Raw codec, and you see that in post, is that you can actually adjust your ISO. If you mess it up and it's overexposed or if it's underexposed, you can actually change that in post, whether it's Premiere, DaVinci Resolve, or whatever editor you're using. It's almost dummy proof, and that's what people love it on set, is because if the clouds come over and you had a really super bright day and it gets cloudy and you're shooting on set and you can't change that ISO, you want the lighting to look perfect, you can go ahead and change that in post to whatever you want, to a certain extent. Now, it doesn't mean you want to mess up the ISO and underexpose or overexpose on set, but you want to make sure that you get it right. So this one's set at 800. That's okay. For as bright as it is in here, I'd say that's about right. Give or take, and we'll talk more about ISO in a different video. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click off of that, and that's done. All right. Again, we have frame rate over here, which is done twice, and we're going to have our white balance. Now, I'm going to show you how to actually adjust the white balance in a second. We're going to go back to that. And I'm going to go into my menu. We're going to go into, this is where I always kind of forget, because again, Red's kind of under a lot of fire because it's not a very user-friendly menu, but I'll show you. I believe it is under monitoring. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so it's under, let's go back. It's under the menu. We're going to click on image, and we're going to click on ISO. And at this point, if you have a white piece of paper, you could stick it in front of there, and it'll say calibrate ISO. And it's so cool is it'll set your ISO automatically to how bright or dark it is in your room, so it's perfectly balanced. All right. Right now we're at about probably 4,000 Kelvin because we have some fluorescent bulbs above me, and we have a very strong one just to my left over here. Okay. All right, we're going to go get out of the menu, and we're going to get back again, and we're going to hit close, and we go back to our main menu. Now on the run to the right there, just to the right of your white balance, you're going to see 6K, and right now 2:1 is a little more widescreen, and we have 6K widescreen, and we have 6K high definition, 6K 3:2, which looks more like a 35mm photograph, more boxy, and then of course it goes down from there all the way to 1080p. Now, one of the things you're going to realize about Red, and this will be on the test, is that the lower the resolution, the higher your frame rate can go. So if you go under 5K, you can go maybe like 100 frames per second. So if you really want that beautiful, super smooth, creamy, slow motion, you're going to have to go a little bit lower resolution, and that's okay. However, one of the things you're going to notice with Red, and this is quite common for other cameras as well, is that when you go to a lower resolution, the camera wants to crop into the sensor. And what that means is if you choose a 35mm lens in 6K, it's going to be more closer to about a 50mm lens in a lower resolution. The lower you go in resolution, the more cropped in it's going to be. So if I were to actually put this down to 4K all of a sudden, then you'd see this screen much, much larger. Obviously, we're using a Canon right now. That's not how it works. But on the Red, that's how it works. So the lower the resolution, the more cropped in your sensor is. It's almost as if you zoomed in on the image. You really haven't, but that's really what's happening as far as what's going on in the sensor. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just keep it at what it was. We're going to go back to 6K 2:1, and you're going to notice again you won't see anything because there is no actual lens on the camera right now. Okay. We have right here, we have the compression ratio just to the right of your resolution. And right now I have it a very reasonable 8:1. You don't want to go too much above that. You're going to start getting some motion and noise and noise artifacts, things like that. Most people recommend that 8:1 is okay. You don't really want to go 7:1 because again, you want to keep your file sizes manageable, especially for the computers we have here. I'd say 12:1 would be the most you want to do, and I'll go ahead and keep it on that. Okay, again, you click off and then it goes back to the black screen. Here's your file designation down here, and you notice that if I take this red mini mag reader out here on, right here, there's your red mini mag reader. If I take that out, it's not gonna like me. It's gonna say, oh, what's that say? So the side SSD media removed, without that you can't record. Yeah, duh, right? So we're gonna go ahead and put that back in. And you click OK, and it's not gonna yell at me anymore. Pretty cool, huh? So a couple of basic things about the camera that I really love. It's very hefty, it's very heavy, and a lot of people will complain about that, but because there is no IBIS, interior body image stabilization, or OIS, optical image stabilization, you really need either a tripod or a very, very steady hand to hold this without shaking. And the heavier it is, the less of the micro jitters that you're going to get. So again, it doesn't have that amazing image stabilization that a GoPro would have or a cell phone. This is a professional cinema camera, and they're going to rig this out with very large dollies, cranes, jibs, big sticks, tripods. It's industry standard for tripod, by the way. They call it sticks. And so that's really going to help with your stabilization. You could use a huge gimbal, but again, this is almost too heavy to use it with most industry standard prosumer gimbals. So again, that's going to raise up the cost again. One of the other things I absolutely love about this, and this is probably about step 7 or 8, is it's just the history of this. Like I said in the test before in the first semester, this is the first full 4K digital cinema camera that's used in films. It was used in The Hobbit, it was used on Social Network, it was used on a lot of different Netflix productions. David Fincher, one of my favorite directors, he did Fight Club and The Social Network, and he did Mindhunter on Netflix, and of course the granddaddy of them all would be Stranger Things, which I have a poster of right behind me, shot right here on this very same camera. Obviously with lenses that we can't afford, but again, the whole purpose is the 6K sensor is absolutely magnificent. It looks so crispy smooth, and the bokeh is beautiful. Really that beautiful image where you have that all the background is kind of blurred out. This camera can do that. There's just something about it that looks just gorgeous, and you'll see that if you use it. One of the other things I love about it is that in post you have so much flexibility. You can adjust your white balance, you can adjust your ISO if you screw that up and you forget to do the white paper test. And a lot of cameras just don't have that. Whatever you have is simply baked into the image, and then you're kind of stuck with it, and you're screwed. So that's cool like that. I guess as a positive or negative, again, we're going to go back to the accessories thing. It's kind of ridiculous that they make you pay hundreds of dollars for things that you could go get at Walmart for just a few bucks. You can't just use an SD card. You can't just put a regular battery on this. You have to pay for the V-Lock mount, and then V-Lock batteries again are super convenient, but they're very powerful, but again, very, very expensive. This will last right here about 3 to 4 hours if you're very lucky, okay? I guess one of the other things I like about it is, again, there's no cords or cables, and we kind of talked about that already. If you're on set and people are walking around like crazy, getting you coffee, and something spills, it's probably been proven it's going to be just fine. It's been out in the rain, it's been in freezing cold temperatures, it's been in humid temperatures. It really is pretty tough and pretty reliable. This thing's made like a tank, and it's just, I know you it's really hard to kind of see that on camera, just how nice and sturdy this is. But it really is just made like a tank, and because of its heft and its weight, it makes you feel like you're really a film professional, and that you are using something that is very serious and a very serious tool. You wouldn't, if you're a professional, you wouldn't take substandard tools to your job, building a house. Same thing with a camera person. The first AC or director, you want something that's going to last every single time, that's going to give you that beautiful image. And again, that's what this Red is very, very good at doing. Okay? Okay, folks, we're going to go ahead and just wrap this up. I guess it will be step 10 in review. This is the Red Dragon 6K professional cinema camera. Red mini mag reader, V-Lock, everything is separate. V-Lock battery, accessory handle, 4.7-inch LCD monitor. They make them up to 7 inches. EF mount, which is fully lockable, base plate, power button, really cool, like Punisher logo. I'm not sure if they got sued for that, who knows, but it looks really, really cool. And then, of course, we have all the accessories right here on the back. The V-Lock IO expander. All right, folks, hopefully that is giving you enough information to kind of begin using this amazing camera. I'll probably do a separate video on just all the different menus and maybe do a screen capture, but I think this is good enough for now. I'm probably going to put this in Edpuzzle, so please watch it very, very carefully. And again, to use this beautiful camera, you're going to have to pass the test. And there you go. All right, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this review, and hopefully everything doesn't look too bad. I'm doing this by myself, so I did the best that I could. If you have any questions before you use this, please ask me, and I'd be happy to answer it. Again, I'm not an expert on it, but I am getting pretty good at it. I think I know it pretty well because I messed with it just a couple of hours. And again, practice makes perfect with any sort of tool. All right, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day, and I hope you enjoyed the Red 6K Dragon review in 10 steps or more.